Father gotta do? What?
Hey guys, welcome to another JT video. Today we're covering pawn structure, and if you have been following the series, we're following pawn structure chess by Andrew Soltis, and we're on chapter 3 right now, the open Sicilian / English. If you want to get the book, the link is down below. It's a cheap buy and definitely will, it's amazing. It's worth the money. So let's just get right into it. And the structure I have right here is called the Scheveningen structure. Listen, if I'm gonna mispronounce it, this board cannot be pronounced by somebody who doesn't speak Dutch natively. Sorry. Anyways, the Sicilian Defense is the most popular way of beginning an e4 game, and the most popular treatment of it is to knight f3 and d4. And the Sicilian reverse form, the English, after like c4 e5, has grown in popularity, particularly after white has realized he should not try to force matters in the center with d2 to d4 and should wait for black to play d5. So there are 4 main branches of the open Sicilian, and they're kind of devoting a subchapter for each one of them. And we're going to do the same for the videos, just so I don't have like a 5-hour long video. I don't think it's going to be 5 hours, but we'll just go over some basic stuff that they're talking about. So yeah, the first one is the Scheveningen structure. And this is it right here. This is the most common open Sicilian formation, and by no means is it limited only to this variation, right? Like if you play an early a6, it can be the Neindorf, and it can come from the Paulsen, it can come from the Taimanov, it can come from the O'Kelly, it can come from like so many. Just, you know, they're going to play a6, and the structure's fairly similar. Also, it goes from the Sozin and Rauser lines. So if white doesn't change the pawn structure, his middle game options are largely limited to kingside attacks or pressure against the d6 pawn. And thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Oh, and thank you, Matt, waiting for gifting us up. So there are 4 main plans in this kind of structure, and so we're gonna just kind of like highlight them right now. So 1, white can play e4 e5, a prelude to a kingside attack or a central attack. Okay, the next one, he can try f2 to f4 to f5. And this is actually a really common theme in some Sicilians, because you want control over the d5 square. Sometimes you even sack a knight, like in some structures, you'll sack a knight here just to get another knight over here, which is kind of funny, and just getting control over the d5 square. You can launch a attack with g2, g4, g5, and you can also try the queenside option after we exchange some knights here. Like usually a knight's on d4, you exchange it here, and then you play c2 to c4 and hold the break right here, because in a lot of Sicilians, black's main pawn break is d5. So playing c2 to c4 is like saying, hey, we're gonna fight over the d5 square. So timing is much more important than in the structurally solid Karo-Slav positions, and this we've gone over before. Just if you haven't watched them, there's going to be a link somewhere to send you back to those videos. And like in the Karo-Slav positions, if you make one mistake, okay, maybe you get a slightly worse position. In the Sicilian, if you make one mistake, that's it can lead to a lost game. Like, that's how serious it is. So yeah, one bad move can really decide stuff in the open Sicilian. So the most explosive option is e4 to e5, supported by a pawn on f4. This is double-edged because it may create a weak e pawn after d captures e5 and f captures e5. But the opening of the lines, the d file and half of the F file as well as part of the B1 to H7 and H1 to A8 diagonals. So we're talking about these and then the H7 to B1. So these diagonals are opening up. Can make this push worth the risk. So we're gonna go over a game, and let's just go ahead and reset the board, and you guys can see that. Beautiful. Whoops. Let's go ahead and just do the new analysis. Okay, perfect. So E4, C5, knight F3, D6, D4, C captures D4, knight captures D4, knight F6, and just regular stuff. Knight C3, E6, bishop E2, knight C6, bishop E3, bishop E7, castles, A4, whoops, I messed up. Castles A6, sorry. Then A4. And then castles. F4. Bishop D7. Knight B3. Knight A5. Okay. So white's on move 9. A4 stopped this push and then also this push. Black's main counterplay source. So A6 and A4 is a really strong move. And actually, when I was like 1300 and people used to play the Dragendorf, it was like really popular at that time. I was like 1300, 1500. No, actually, I was 1500. And I saw the Dragendorf, and it was a 25-minute game, and I think my opponent was a 2300, and I was like 1500. Yeah. And I came up with the idea that after I saw A6 and a Dragendorf, I'm like, I'm going to play A4. And maybe I can play A5 at some point, control these weak squares. I ended up losing that game, but the idea was really solid. It was just, I couldn't convert the advantage. I had a really strong advantage. Okay. Anyways, that anecdote. And so black averted the A4, A5, but allowed E5. Okay, so E5. It's almost always a good sign for white when black cannot answer E4, E5 with D captures E5. Here, D captures E5 is punished. F captures E5, knight D5, knight captures D5, E captures D5. Queen captures D5. Or, if they don't do that, then knight E8, knight captures A5, queen captures A5, queen captures E7. And just winning. So after that, after they pushed, knight E8, play may run just like this. Boom. Queen captures A5. White has a choice of ideas such as knight E4, threatening E captures D6. But the most common response in master chess is queen D2, queen C7, and bishop D4. Okay, and then we have D5 here. And so we'll just continue the line after, maybe queen E3, rook C8. This rook looks kind of bad. This bishop looks kind of bad as well. Looks like almost like a French bishop. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for the gift sub. I really appreciate it. And Quinton, welcome. Welcome. So yeah, so after rook C8, see, boom, rook C8, then bishop D3, bishop C5, then knight E2, saying, hey, my knight's gonna go here. Maybe F5 is a plan, or maybe even getting the knight here is a plan. So really strong. And then after, we're going to play here and here. So lots of awesome plans. So here, the main plan to fight against this structure for white is, this is one plan. Saying, hey, we're going to push e5 when we have the chance. And especially if they can't recapture like this with the knight. So if they go off on a tangent, then e5 is the good move. So kind of cool, like just knowing these kind of nuances and saying, okay, this is, if I see this kind of structure, this should be a plan that I should go for, right? And even with the a6 stuff, you know, like just playing a4, and now we're in familiar territory, and this can come from a Khan, again, from a Taimanov, this can come from a Najdorf. So really useful technique. Okay. So they gave another game that kind of ran the same course, but it has a different move order. So after 15, D captures e5. Okay, opening the center. I see. Wait. So sorry. Instead of d5, where is this d5 break? Yeah. So instead of d5, here's another move. D captures e5. The natural alternative, and then f captures e5. In order to trade bishops with bishop c5, right? So they want to trade off this bishop with this. So bishop c5 leads to a dominating white presence in the center after knight e4. Captures, and obviously they cannot take. Just rook ac1, and we get a lot of stuff, or like rook fc1, and get a lot of play on this line. They get greedy. And where is the queen going? Nice little queen trap if they get greedy. Anyways, so that was really cool. Nice little queen trap there. Okay, and then in another game, they give a different move. So let's say bishop c6 here, rook a to d1. And so these games are important because you kind of want to say, okay, these masters are playing this and they've studied this extensively, these kind of like research, and we're kind of like trying to learn from them. So yeah, queen a5. And I recommend that you do your own studying. So this should be like a supplement to your own studying. Like say, okay, I want to learn this. Okay, cool. Japanese tutor taught me this and showed me these like techniques. Then I'm going to go do something else. And I'm going to search up more games. And that's how you get better faster, actually. Queen a5. Knight c5. Queen c7. a5. g6. And if queen captures a5 here, then knight captures e6. F captures e6. Rook captures f8. King captures f8. Queen f4. And maybe not queen f4. Maybe we have queen f2. Maybe slightly better. Yeah. Or let's see. The book recommends this, and then rook f1. But after queen c5 check, it looks okay, whatever. But yeah, queen f2 check is just solves that problem. And then rook f1, and really, really nice attack for the piece. Okay, so let's go over the f4, f5 plan, and then we'll be done with the video for now. And it's extensive, a really, really big chapter. Obviously, all Sicilians like crazy theory and crazy amounts of research. So let's go all the way back. Okay, and so this is White's f4, f5 plan. And the strategic goal of f4, f5 is to force the e6 pawn to advance or to be traded off. Thank you, Flux Bundlers, for subscribing with Twitch Prime, and this is the second month. And thank you for letting me use your chessboard and clock today. I really appreciate it. Get to go hunt someone down. Cool. Okay, so let's keep going. White hopes to win control of d5 and occupy it with a minor piece, ideally a knight. Also, f4, f5 gains kingside space for an attack on the king, as in Short Kasparov in the World Championship match in 1993. So, e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4 takes, knight, a6, bishop c4, e6. So this came from a Najdorf. Kasparov was like renowned for using it and winning a lot. So yeah, bishop c4, e6, knight, bishop b3, knight bd7, f4, knight c5, f5, bishop e7, queen f3, castles, bishop e3, e5, knight d to e2, b5. Okay, so black's b pawn and the likely knight captures b3 offer him counter chances such as like g4 and bishop b7 and stuff like that. And white ends up down a pawn, but with a lot of compensation. So white wanted a piece on d5 and chose bishop d5. So black preferred rook b8, and white ended the b4 threat by just playing b4 himself. Knight c, 7. And then after knight c to d7, we're gonna castle. And now I'm looking at this, and this f4, f5 break kind of seems awesome because now we have control over this d5 square, and if it takes knight here, this bishop is also kind of suspicious as well. Okay, so after castles, knight captures d5, knight captures d5, bishop b7, knight e to c3, maintaining the knight on d5, and that's actually a very, very important thing. So some people will be like, oh, they have the bishop here, I have to get rid of the bishop here. But this knight on d5, I would say, is stronger than this bishop because of these pawns. And again, this is not a minor piece lesson, but just saying, maybe that's why they chose to try to keep that knight on d5, because that's the plan that they were going for with this break, with this f2, f4, f5 push. Okay, so after knight e to c3, he keeps control of d5, but made a big concession on the c file. Yeah, this was clear after knight f6, rook a to d1, knight captures d5, knight captures d5, Bishop captures d5. Rook captures d5, rook c8. If his pawn were on b2, white could neutralize the black pressure on the c file with c3. That doesn't work now, obviously. And if he defends c2 with a piece, black gets the upper hand. However, the benefits of f4, f5 enabled white to ignore the threat on c2. He chose 21 queen g4, saying, hey, I'm going all out, with the ideas of bishop h6 and f5, f6. Black defended with f6. But after rook f3, rook captures c2, rook h3, rook f7, which is a very strong move. And then after rook f7, queen h5, h6, queen g6, threatening here. Black's king f8 was forced, and white took the perpetual check draw following after bishop takes here. But the text says that he had good winning chances after queen h7. And it looks pretty good. It's pretty good. So let's say king e8, queen g8, rook f. Oh, let's say bishop f8. That's what the text recommends. Bishop f8, and then bishop c5. So looks pretty good for white. But yeah, they took a draw, and this is really hard to see. And post analysis is so much easier than over the board analysis. Okay, so the importance of controlling d5 after f4, f5, and e5, like if black plays e5, is further shown in some more supplemental games, and I will link them down below in the YouTube video and also put it in the blog post. So white loses the fight for it, and that proves fatal. So we're gonna end it here. Thank you so much for coming to the lesson, and thank you so much for all of the support. So if you like the video, subscribe, and if you really like the video, give us a like. Doesn't hurt. And we'll see you next time.